What's up, guys? Tony, welcome back to a brand new video. This will be my DC Filmation Era Retrospective. So as always, let's get into it. So I'll be talking about all the Filmation Era DC cartoons. So the only two Filmation Era cartoons that have never been released on DVD or any physical media have been The Adventures of Superboy. It was only a few episodes were released on VHS, and released the other Filmation cartoons back in the day on VHS. Other than that, that cartoon has not received any DVDs or Blu-rays at all. It's because the legal battle between I forgot what the state is, but it's one of the creators of Superman, Warner Brothers. They were able to release the Superboy TV series. Came out in the 80s, they released that. So maybe one day the Superboy Filmation cartoon might get released. But moving on from that to the New Adventures of Superman, which has gotten released. All 3 seasons have been released, and this was the show that ran for the longest. This show had 3 seasons. And I remember I got the VHS of this a long time ago, and had a few episodes on it. And then I was so happy to find this. They finally released seasons 2 and 3, along with The Adventures of Batman. I got those 2 around the same time. I'll never forget that. Picked these 2 up around the same time. Well, I really wish that they would have stuck with this format. That way it'll look better on the shelf. Because when we put it together, it looks like that. But everyone knows that DVDs later they got cheaper. So I also thought that was a cool little show. Had a lot of cool Superman villains in there, like Toyman, Brainiac. Next up, we have The Adventures of Aquaman. This one, I'm very surprised that they actually did an Aquaman show back then. And this is the re-released version. I don't have the original version. Maybe one day I might get the original version places. Maybe one day, just depends. But I know that they re-released this in 2018 because of the Aquaman movie. So basically, undersea adventures and stuff like that. And then at the same time, of course, Superman was released 66. The rest of the cartoons, like Aquaman and the other Filmation cartoons, came out in 67. And this is a volume set which has Justice League of America, the Teen Titans, Hawkman, Green Lantern, Adam, the Flash shorts in here. So, but I do like how they have all the characters that have Filmation cartoons on here. They even put Aquaman on there, even though he's not in the Justice League of America cartoon. But still, that's pretty cool. So, I think these are fun little cartoons. And honestly, it was really weird to see the Teen Titans without Robin. I think the reason being for that is because Robin was being used in the Batman TV series back in 66. So, but I thought that these tunes were interesting. Most of them basically revolved around the same type of villains, like aliens, stuff like that. So, even the same with the Titans. And then, of course, after that, we did get a Batman show for Filmation, which is The Adventures of Batman. It only had 1 season. I'm very surprised that none of these shows lasted more than 1 season. And Superman was the only show that had multiple seasons, had 3 seasons. And next up, we have The New Adventures of Batman. And they did re-release this on Blu-ray, and they did re-release this as well, The Adventures of Batman on Blu-ray. So I might pick those up, just for the of it. I remember getting this one at FYE, back when FYE was still around. Well, at least where I'm from, anyway. But and this show actually had 20-minute episodes, so it wasn't shorts compared to all the other Filmation cartoons. And one thing I did forget to mention, they did re-release these Filmation cartoons. They did a re-release, and here's the re-release DVDs right here. So, but I'm just gonna keep this in my collection, put that on the shelf instead of these, because I do like this a whole lot better than I do these. But I will open these up real quick, guys. But I do like how they went into detail and put different characters on the artwork, so that is pretty cool. And it's basically the same characters on this DVD. So, but I just like this one better because I think it's a better representation because you get all the characters on there. Plus, I've always liked that classic logo stamp on there. But getting back to the New Adventures of Batman, so I'm very surprised that they actually did this cartoon, which came out in '77, and they probably want to have a Batman project because the Superman movie was right around the corner in '78, and most of the shows have been through the '60s. And then, of course, the last Filmation Era show was Shazam, and that came out in 1981, ran from 81 to 82, and unfortunately it doesn't have a DVD or Blu-ray release. Hopefully they release it at some point. But I watched a few episodes of all the shows. Like I said, I own all these shows here except for Superboy and Shazam, obviously. But I did watch a few episodes of each show so I could talk about it with you guys. But I just really think that these shows are a great representation of what the characters were like back then, especially in the '60s. Batman. It was a little campy, not too campy like the '60s show with Adam West. It has a little bit of camp to it, and of course, Mr. Freeze in New Avengers, he makes a bunch of ice puns and stuff like that, and every time I see stuff like that, it reminds me of the Batman and Robin movie. And while the Batman and Robin may not have been accurate for audiences at the time who were more used to a more darker Batman, it was accurate. I would say it's probably the '60s and '70s version of those characters with the camp stuff. So, it was nice to see another version of Clayface in this. But overall, I really do think that the '60s Filmation era, or the Filmation era cartoons of DC in general, is great representation of those characters back then, and I really think it's important that we don't forget that. And I can only imagine being a comic book fan back then, seeing those shows. If you read the comics and you read the comics and you watched all these shows back then growing up, I think that's pretty cool. So, but that's all for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and see you guys in the next video. Later, guys.